You're not supposed to cry, but I am almost sure there were tears in your eyes as Jesus took your hand and you stood before the Lord. And he said, my child, look around you, for great is your reward. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am a life that was changed. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am so glad you gave. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am a life that was changed. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am so glad you gave. I am so glad you gave.
I'm sure some of you all are like me. When you hear that song, you think back of those people that were part of your life and did things for you. Even then, you didn't realize what was going on sometimes. And I think back as she was singing that, and it says that you may not remember me now, but when I was 8, I was in your Sunday school or whatever the words were, and you said a prayer, and I accepted Jesus that day. I think about Joyce Arrowwood when I was a little boy. She'd get in her car and she'd ride around. She'd find all of us and bring us to church. We'd sit in that little rock church and we wasn't, I was probably 9 years old, maybe 10 or 11. And we wasn't a bunch of heathens in that classroom for her, I can tell you that now. And Tony Mitchell was in that classroom. Myself, Charles Van Der Reet, his brother Jonathan. Amy Arrowwood was in that classroom. Little Teddy was in there. And I know that don't mean anything to a lot of y'all, but I know where those people are now. Judy. Ted Arrowwood's one of the best. Teddy Arrowwood, he's one of the best men I know. Good, godly man. Tony Mitchell, one of the godliest men I've ever met in my life. Amen. Amen. And I think about Miss Sandra Evans. Miss Gaffney now. Miss Gaffney wrote a book, and I'll get to her message in a second, I'm sorry. Miss Evans wrote a book, said My Memoirs was a book that she wrote about all of her years of teaching. She was my 7th, 8th, and 9th grade English class teacher. And she wrote in her book, she said, I can remember my students and things they do. And I know y'all ain't going to believe this, but she said, one of them stands out. And in her book, she says, I had a young man to come in my classroom and tell me when he walked in, I'm going to sit right here. And she said, I looked at him and he was so big, I thought to myself, well, you just sit where you want to. But I took a big, deep breath and I said, no, sir, you're going to sit where I tell you to sit at. First time in my life I ever had anybody, Robert, to tell me what I was going to do. And that was Miss Sandra Evans. I was 11 years old then. I'm 58 now. And me and her still dear friends. She gave me something in my life that I didn't even know I needed. And that was a lady that took time to love me regardless of who I was. just like that song says. Making an impact on people when I don't even know if she even knew it then. We had just segregated schools not long before then. Had a black school teacher. But she told me, she said, no, sir, you're going to sit where I tell you to. One of the greatest teachers and people I've ever met in my life. She deals with people every day in the worst times of her life now. She works for a funeral home. She wrote a book called Laughter in the Midst of Tears. When you lose your loved ones, what you should do. And I believe that everybody she meets, just like my friend Ashford Blakely, she leads them to the Lord. Leads them in a direct, not to the Lord, but she leads them in that direction. And I think about people that have been in my life all my life. My dad-in-law, the godliest man I've ever known. The godliest man I've ever known. No education. Wasn't smart enough to read a book. Didn't know how. But he trusted what the book said. Amen. And so I'm thankful. Thank you, Naomi, the people that were in my life that came by. Jimmy Powell, always been there. Always been the man of God I expected him to be. Tim Knotts that led me to the Lord. I'm thankful for all those people. So, listen, don't think that you're not doing something. Amen? Don't think you're not doing something because somebody's watching. Matthew chapter number 2. I came in this morning, and it took me until right before I came up here to realize that that tree was gone. Somebody took my Christmas tree down. By the way, if you brought ornaments and put on our tree, they're here. We've laid them along this thing here. If you brought them and you want to take them home, would you come by and pick them up on the way home? Just make sure you get them out. We thought we had lost Miss Judy's. I told Angie when she took those